Hi, this is an amazing group. I am so excited to have been invited by Daniel to come in and pop in and say hello. Thank you, Daniel. It's awesome. And I am actually in the airport, so if it's a bit loud, forgive me, but I am just getting done with the 2-day speaking from stage training, which is super exciting because I am about to certify and train close to 50 naked mind coaches so that people can start to do this sort of work and help people in smaller groups and packets all over the world. We have somebody coming from Hong Kong. It's so cool and so exciting. So that's really great. And I need to learn how to teach more effectively. So that's what I'm doing today. And this is just super fun to be able to pop in here. And this group I see is growing and growing and growing. So I thought that one of the things that I could say hello, and if anybody has questions and wants to hop on and ask me questions, please do. That would be awesome. First of all, my name is Annie Grace. If you don't know me, I wrote the book This Naked Mind, and I've written a subsequent book called The Alcohol Experiment. The point of the alcohol experiment, it's a really interesting story, actually, how it came about. Basically, This Naked Mind is great, and it is often, at least in the States, the #1 best-selling book in the category. Which is so cool because it just shows that people are ready for like a new approach. And it's This Naked Mind: Control Alcohol, Find Freedom, Discover Happiness, and Change Your Life. And it is all about changing your subconscious beliefs around alcohol. I reached a time in my life where I was drinking close to 2 bottles of wine a night. I had 2 small boys. I was traveling all over the world. I was realizing that they were getting the absolute worst of me when they deserved the best of me, but I didn't know how to stop. I was completely and totally stuck. And the more rules that I would make for myself, like not drink till 5 p.m. or, only drink on the weekends, or all of these rules, the more I would try to adhere to these rules and use my willpower, the less successful I would become. And the more internal noise and nastiness and dialogue would happen in my head. And it was so incredibly painful. And so, my own journey, I actually did something, I didn't realize it was revolutionary at the time, but I do now with all the knowledge I now have. And that was that I got off that train. I stopped trying to stop drinking. I said, you know what? I remember a time when alcohol did not used to control my thinking. I didn't think about it all the time, when it was not all that important, where I could take it or leave it. I remember a time when I had a good time without alcohol, whereas if I wasn't going to drink, I wouldn't feel deprived or upset. And I was like, why did it change? What changed? And that became my driving question. And I realized that I wasn't going to be able to answer that question in the cycle that I'd created, the cycle of every single morning waking up at 3 a.m., beating myself up, wondering why I couldn't get together, wondering what was wrong with me, making threats to myself, crying, being so upset, and on and on and on. And I said, I need to step out of this cycle of insanity and kind of rebuild some trust and faith in myself. So I'm going to step off that cycle. I'm going to stop trying to stop drinking. And I'm just going to focus on learning. I'm going to focus all my attention and energy, no matter what it takes, to answering that question: what changed? Why are things different now than they used to be? And that was so important for me. And through that journey, I learned all about the subconscious mind, and I developed this theory that basically consciously I wanted to drink less desperately. I knew it was affecting my life and my health and my family and all sorts of things, but my subconscious mind just frankly had not gotten the memo. And how could I change that? And so I developed a process to change it. And my first book is a liminal thinking process that I learned from a man named Dave Gray, who's an incredible author. And then in my second book, The Alcohol Experiment, I really narrowed down the process and refined it. And it is called the ACT technique, ACT, and that stands for awareness, clarity, and turnaround. And awareness is just really becoming aware of the thought or belief. Sometimes that's the hardest part. I believe that alcohol relaxed me, like I believe the sky was blue. It was truth to me. It wasn't a belief. It wasn't a story I told myself. There was no part of my mind that questioned that truth. It just felt true. And so becoming aware that that is actually a story, that there might not be true, is almost part of, a big part of the battle. And saying, okay, well, alcohol relaxes me. What is true? And then C is clarity. And that's really where you look internally and externally to see if that is true, that belief. And clarity internally was like, okay, well, am I more relaxed or less relaxed, a few hours after my first drink? Am I more or less relaxed the next day? In my life right now, am I more stressed or less stressed than before I was drinking as much as I am now? And really looking internally to say, does alcohol relax me in my life over time? Or is it simply a numbing agent in the moment? And that was a big aha for me. And then looking externally, and this is where I did a lot of the work that went into this Naked Mind book, was, okay, what is the science behind it, right? What is the science saying about what alcohol does to the human brain and the human body and the physiology? Is it relaxing or not? And there's all sorts of studies about how no, it's not. You have a drink in your body, because alcohol is a depressant, counteracts that by releasing adrenaline and cortisol. Those are the stress hormones. That is the opposite of relaxation. And so I was like, oh, wow, that's crazy. Oh my gosh, that's so interesting. And so I went through every single belief I had in that same manner. And the result of that was just, a humongous download of journalism, beliefs, and thoughts, which I just put out as a PDF, just on a website, because I knew other people needed it. And 20,000 people downloaded it in 2 weeks. It was nuts. And then I started getting letters from all over the world, people saying, oh my gosh, that helped me too. It was just so cool. And as a result of that, I ended up figuring out how to self-publish. I still always gave my book away for free. I gave my book away for free until I could no longer give it away for free, because about a year after I self-published, it had sold enough copies that Penguin Random House and all the top publishers came, and they actually had an auction to publish my book, which was great, because for me, it was really about getting this in the hands of as many people as possible that needed it. And so I went traditionally published route. So I can no longer just offer a free download on my website, because that's against their rules, but they are able to get so much more exposure for the book. So I've been able to be on like Good Morning America and Forbes and all these places to get this message out there. And then interestingly, the alcohol experiment came because one day I was on Amazon and I had gotten this review, and it was so interesting. It was like, I read your book for my brother because he drinks too much, and now I don't even like beers. So thanks a lot, 5 stars. And I was like, wow, there's so many people who actually, aren't happy with their drinking, but they're not even aware that they're not happy with their drinking. Like, they want to change, but they don't even know they want to change. Like, how can we reach those people? Like, that's an interesting thing, especially because this Naked Mind, you'd have to be Googling or looking for, I want to change my drinking. And what if you don't even know? And then the same week, I got an email from somebody who's doing the Whole30, and she's like, Annie, thank you so much. I'm finally successful. My first year of doing the Whole30, I've been trying for years, finally successful because of your book, This Naked Mind, because I could never give up the alcohol before. And so those two things kind of mixed around in my brain. And I was like, okay, people love a challenge. You need to lower the barrier to entry to the conversation around questioning your drinking. So important. And, really create something that is just dip a toe. It's a challenge. And so I created the alcohol experiment, which is a 30-day challenge. It is free and always will be at alcoholexperiment.com. And every day you get emails and videos from me. And it's literally just a 30-day challenge where you can go through, and every single day I send you a new perspective. Just like, I talked about around relaxation, every day it's something similar to that. And it's a new perspective and a new way to think. And so by the end of it, people have really freed themselves from a lot of the psychological dependence around alcohol. I think one of the most interesting things for me is it was never really physical for me. Like, yeah, there were some withdrawal symptoms from I was tired. I had to relearn how to fall asleep because alcohol made me pass out, although it made me wake up later. All those things. But most for me, it was, I could stop drinking for a week, for a month, for 9 months, every time I had a baby. But I was always feeling deprived when I did. So it was so much in my mind. And that's really where my work focuses, is on the mind and on the thoughts. So that is who I am. And as always, if you wanted to, try out the free program, alcoholexperiment.com. It is phenomenal. It's such a cool program. And like I said, every day you get videos, you get emails. It's such a great way, especially as we're going into dry July, to just reset, right? To just say, okay, I'm going to reset. I'm going to do another 30 days. Or if you're on a big streak, to just recondition, because we're constantly bombarded with so much information, and our subconscious specifically is bombarded with so much information that's pro-alcohol. So how do we maintain a balance to that? So that is it in a nutshell. And again, thank you so much for having me in here. This looks like an incredible group, and I hope everybody just has a wonderful, wonderful day.